I'd like to welcome everybody today to our Hall of Fame induction. It's my favorite day of the year, the school year. Superintendent Wiles says your graduation, but this is my favorite. You know, people say that high school sports might not be the most important thing in the world, but when you see what happens here, it really is tremendous. And those of you that went on the tour, I was going to tell you this before you went, but I'll tell you now. You probably all feel the same way. Things are happening in Ellenville. We're fixing things up. We're taking care. I'll talk a little bit later about our bond issue that we're putting up, and things are happening. This beautiful cafeteria was put up a couple of years ago. Last year was our first year here. This is the sixth induction into the Hall of Fame ceremony that we've had, and it's just the next one's better every time we do it. So thank you for coming. Let me go over how things are going to go, and then I've got a few thank yous I have to take care of, so please bear with me on that. So we have 3 individuals in the team. We're going to go in that order, which basically is alphabetical, and then the 61 varsity baseball team. And what will happen is I'll talk just for a few seconds about each of the inductees. I'll read their plaque, and then I will bring somebody up that each person has chosen to speak on their behalf. So they're putting them into the Hall of Fame. And we'll take pictures and move on. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so let me get to my thank yous because I have to do that. Please bear with me. A few years ago, I went to my colleagues on the Board of Education and I proposed having an athletic Hall of Fame. I did it about 15 years ago and they sent me right out of the meeting with a no. But I just want to thank, first off, my colleagues on the Board of Education are just tremendous. And I've seen a lot of Board of Educations and I don't think anyone works as well as ours does. They're just 100% supportive in this. We even have a couple of them here today and I'd like to introduce them. Lisa Ramirez. Iris Friedman, and Ethan Lundstein did double duty today. He worked with Roll Time in providing food and coming to the ceremony, so appreciate those folks. I got to thank Superintendent Lisa Wiles. I've worked with a lot of superintendents in my life. Some were good and some were bad. Some advanced my educational career by telling me it was time to move on from their facilities. If you're in Ellenville and you want to do something good for kids, then Lisa Wiles will go 100% with you. She's the best superintendent I've ever worked with. As I mentioned, I'm the chairman of the Hall of Fame committee, but the brains of the organization are my Hall of Fame committee members, and I want to introduce them. Patty Steinhoff, Katie Berman, and Lance Lewin, who's already a Hall of Famer as a coach. I also want to thank Athletic Director Matt Salomon. He's new to the district, just a couple of years, and he's working very hard to rebuild our athletic program. Probably the person I've helped the most over the last 3 months and really pulled everything together, Athletic Secretary Kim Moore. I want to thank Tim Lukazeski and the graphic design students for all the work they did on this. Alan Buckler providing the music and the tech. They do a great job in the radio and TV programs. We couldn't do this without them. Thanks, Tim. This is, I don't know what year, but out of the 6 years of Roma Time Bistro providing breakfast for us for several years. Jamie and Marcus Giuliano, great job. Thank you. Kim Wright has helped decorate the entire cafeteria, so I'd like to thank her. And the custodians in the building grounds who helped get all the equipment and set up for everything here. And also, Debbie Fisher and Dawn Pearson from our cafeteria staff that host us every year. I don't know where Dawn went to. Okay. I talked to the superintendent this week, and I told her that all of the inductees get a walk-up song. So I'll be talking about them, and then when they start to come up, they get a walk-up song. It's kind of cool. They picked some of the music, I picked some of the music, and we'll see how that goes. So I told the superintendent I had a walk-up song for her, and she texted back and said, okay, but I'm not dancing. I said, we haven't ruled that out yet. But 100% supportive, and I just love her. She's just great. Lisa Watt.
So I just want to welcome everybody, and I just want to say, I told John this morning, if he pushes this dancing thing, it'll be the first throwdown I ever have with him. First ever. So I'm not dancing. Whoa. I do want to say this. I love graduation, especially if it's on the field, under the rock, on a beautiful night. But this, by far, is one of the best events we host. And when I watch all of you talk and interact, and I'm not going to get emotional, but hear about all your memories, especially when those of the work, I'm overwhelmed. And I am just so thankful that John really pushed this and that we're able to do this every year. It is just an unbelievable event. It really epitomizes us as a community, and it's so good to see so many community members here, in addition to the inductees. So I want to congratulate all the inductees. Heartfelt thanks to Mr. Burns. He is the best, and he really has worked really hard in getting us there, and his passion, good and bad sometimes, but very, very good. He's a true advocate for our students here, and he is passionate about it, just like all of us are, and we're very, very lucky that he has advanced this event. So I'm going to turn the mic back over to him, and I just want to thank all the current, I just have to also say, I haven't seen some of the former staff members, like Lance, Moore, I don't want to leave anyone, Judy Auerbach, people that really mentored me through my career here. And I want to thank everybody for coming too. We have a great community, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
And just as a disclaimer, Lisa Wiles was not one of those administrators that told me to move on. Okay, so we're ready to get started, and just introduce our first inductee, a baseball player, a pitcher. It's hard to recognize exactly how good he was until you look at his stats. Nobody likes lefties, let's admit it. If you're a baseball player, you do not want to see lefties, but he really was good. And I'm going to read his plaque, and I'm going to introduce the person to talk about him and put him into the Ellenville Hall of Fame. It says Ellenville High School Hall of Fame, Stephen Levine, class of 1993. And one of the things we do on the committee is when people make nominations, and I'm going to give you a little secret, technically there's dates that you can submit Hall of Fame nominations. I'll take Hall of Fame nominations all year long. If you think of any athlete, coach, team, and we also have an honorary title too for someone that's made contributions to the district, you can nominate them. And the more information you put down, the better and easier it makes our job when we have to find facts to put on the plaque. So here's Stephen's plaque. Stephen Levine was a 4-year varsity player for the Blue Devils, and in those 4 years, he set the standard for all future Ellenville baseball players. Stephen Levine was a complete player who could pitch, hit, and field at an elite level. On the mound, Stephen finished his career with a 25-6 record. The 25 wins were the most in school history. A crafty left-hander, he frustrated batters, compiling a minuscule career earned run average of 1.13, also a school record. His senior year campaign brought more accolades for Stephen as he set a single-season school record for wins with 10, in addition to the school's first ever no-hitter. As a hitter, Stephen Levine finished his varsity career with an impressive .353 batting average. In his senior year, Levine led the Blue Devils to their only Mid-Hudson Athletic League championship, defeating Saugerties High School for the first time ever in the championship game. For his efforts, Stephen was chosen as the 1993 MHAL Baseball Player of the Year. Stephen was also a 6-year varsity golfer and helped the Blue Devils win an MHAL championship. And to present Stephen to the Hall of Fame, former teacher and coach Mike Guinea.
It's only 7 pages. I'm going to put a couple of hats up here. The first hat is this one. Blue Devils, Ellendale Blue Devils, Blue Devil Pride. It's an amazing school district, and Steve represented the Blue Devils as well as anybody could. Everybody in here loves the Blue Devils. I know that because everybody's here celebrating the Blue Devils. This one, I just put up there because Aaron will get it. But that has to do with the family. They're huge Met fans, and I know they're very happy to know that the Mets are moving on. So I want to thank Steve for asking me to come today and celebrate with him. It's a great honor. I didn't get to coach him for very long. I was the JV coach at the time. Ken Ruff was the varsity coach. And I had Steve for a couple of weeks on my freshman team, and all of a sudden Ken said, it's about time to move him up. I said, well, there goes a good bit of my season, because I already planned on getting quite a few wins with him. But I was lucky enough to coach Steve because when my season ended, Ken always invited me to coach with the varsity. So we did sectionals and MHAL together, and I got to see Steve play all of the time. An amazing player. And Ken was a great coach. And Ken got Coach of the Year because that team was an excellent team. I think to myself, what is it that made Steve such a great player? I want to congratulate all of the inductees. It's an amazing thing when you have success in high school sports. There's nothing better than being on a team, being with others. To see Steve's teammates here today, it makes my day. How did Steve become such an excellent? The first thing I think of when I think of Steve, I think of his family. Steve has the most supportive family. Arlene and Harvey, I was able to work with them for years at the school district here. So they're all there. And then the school community was so supportive. I know of one time when Steve was, I guess, about 3, and Arlene, who's probably the most competitive person in the room, would take a beach ball and throw it, and Steve had the big, oversized wiffle ball bat. And Arlene was determined to strike him out every time. So Arlene is the one that made Steve super competitive. And then as soon as Steve hits a little bit with that bat, she changes the ball and makes it smaller so that, she can win every time. So Arlene and Harvey and that, he has a family that supports them, loves them. They are so proud of him, and he's proud of them. Anybody who has success often starts with a family like that. And we're lucky to have them in Ellendale. And Steve is in Ellendale, and that's another thing that I'm very proud of. I want to talk second about character. Steve's character is what makes him such a success. He's a nice person. He's a kind person. So when Ellendale travels to other school districts, those students are ambassadors. And when Steve travels, and the team, and all of the teams that we hopefully travel, these people represent us. And Steve represented Ellendale with a great deal of pride. He worked hard, but he was a nice person. And when somebody's the best player on the team, and somebody's doing all of this and giving all of this attention, there's no more, it's so nice that it's a good person, because it's so nice to root for a good person. Steve had unbelievable dedication and work ethic. He led by example on that team. He loved playing so much, and he played all of the time. He not only played high school, but then he played American Legion 3 years. And when you're a coach and you have a player who's willing to play during the off-season and learn so much more from other coaches, it makes your job that much easier when the season comes up. He loved baseball so much that he didn't stop when high school ball was over. He played at Ulster, he played at Central Connecticut, he played in the rookie league, he played up until about 2 years ago. He continued to play. So his love for baseball is an amazing thing that I think. He was in an over 40 league. I think he only stopped playing a couple of years ago because I was over helping Harvey do a railing a couple of years ago, and Harvey and Arlene still coming out and telling me how much success Steve was having, and I said, I feel like I'm still a high school coach, only it's 40 years later. So it's wonderful. As a result of all of his dedication and his hard work, he had, of course, unbelievable results. It was a nice team. 4 of them, I think, were still playing ball 2 years ago. Wences was here, I see. Tim Stickel, I think, and Shane Cotter were on teams with Steve in the adults. So as a coach, there's nothing better than to know that some of your ex-players are still playing well into their adulthood. He was the MHL Player of the Year. It wasn't easy for the Ellenville students sometimes, because Coach Ralph was tough. He was a tough bookkeeper. I can remember after varsity games, I was a newer coach. This was only a couple years ago. That's what I'm thinking in my mind when I was a newer coach. But then it may have been a little longer. Anyway, we'd go into the coach's office and Ken would get out the scorebook, and we'd be going through the scorebook, and we would be discussing the game, and Ken would be looking and questioning whether we should give that player a hit or an error on that certain play. And I know the coaches on the other teams were giving the benefit of the doubt to their players. That was a hit. That was a hard ground ball. Most players wouldn't have made that play. Ken was sometimes, I don't know, I think it could have been made. And we get to the end of the season coaches meeting, and coaches are coming up and they're nominating their players for all league or for all stars or whatever it is, and they're telling us that this person hit 400 or this person hit 410. And I'm thinking they were 1 for 6 against us the 2 times we played them, so I don't know. But so for Steve to have that batting average and to be honored by so many people, he did earn it, because Ken was a very honest person. First team Freeman for 3 years, Player of the Year for the Freeman. His college team also went to the state Final 4. So this is amazing. What a career, what a person, what a family, and it's all about Blue Devil pride. He's coaching Little League or coached Little League, so he comes back and then gives back to his community. These are the type of people that Ellenville should honor, and I'm glad they are honoring him, and he certainly deserves this. So, Steve, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Delaney. This speech goes on for pages here.
Thank you, everybody. So you're saying I really did hit over 400?
If you were playing for Fallsburg, 430.
All right. So this is absolutely amazing. I want to first thank the Hall of Fame committee and John Burns for working so hard to create a special place where former student athletes can revisit those glory days and be commemorated. Also, the Board of Education, the Athletic Department, and Superintendent Wiles for the wonderful breakfast and for hosting a fantastic ceremony. Thank you to Coach Guinea for the kind words and for all the support you and Coach Ralph provided to me and my teammates during our run to the top, which started in 1990 and completed with our championship in 1993. Special thank you to Brandon Straub and those who took the time to nominate me for this prestigious honor. Thank you. Also want to congratulate Keith, Marcia, and the 1961 baseball team on the well-deserved honor of being inducted today as well. Now on to the real story, and I apologize in advance if I get a little emotional. Although today is a big day, as I'm enshrined into the Hall of Fame, I want to make sure that you all know that the real Hall of Famer is that beautiful woman, my wife, Erin. She's been by my side for well over 20 years, and yes, although she didn't get to see me play high school baseball, she is my rock, she keeps me grounded each day, and she loves to play glory days to make fun of me whenever I talk about those fond memories I had playing during my varsity days. Erin is a dedicated teacher, wife, and mother, and while I'm in the Hall of Fame for baseball, she deserves to be inducted for everything else. Of course, I'm a proud dad of two amazing boys, Evan and Keegan, whom are incredible athletes and students, but more importantly, they're kind and gentle humans just like their mom. Love you, boys. I'm overjoyed by the turnout from teammates, friends, and family, both near and far, who have taken the ride to little old Ellenville to join us to celebrate this milestone. Even my brother, Eric, most of you know him as Zach, came up from Long Island. For those that know him, that's a feat all in itself. Nice work, Scott. Love you, little bro. And of course, the real coaching team of Mom and Dad, Harvey and Arlene. They've been my biggest fans since day one. They provided my brother and I with an incredible childhood, and there was nothing they wouldn't do for either of us. But we are here for baseball, and I can remember my dad working and Mom taking me outside to pitch wiffle balls to me for hours. Then when Dad would come home, we'd go back out, play catch, and work on grounders. When I became old enough for Little League, Dad made sure he was our coach. He coached us from minors all the way up through majors and was there every step of the way until we reached high school. Then, of course, all the wiffle ball games with my brother and my closest friends in the old hood. Back then, we had a gap between Little League and JV baseball, not like the kids today would travel. So once I hit 9th grade, I made the JV team, coached by Mike Kinney. About a quarter of the way through the season, I was pulled up to play varsity ball for Coach Ralph. I remember coming home so excited, yet so nervous, but my parents reassured me that I would do great if I just played my game. Throughout my high school career, my parents would make sure they attended every game, every at-bat, every pitch. When I would pitch in a game, Mom would sit in the stands and Dad would pace. Back and forth, back and forth. He couldn't sit next to her, couldn't sit still because he was too nervous. Because when I was on the mound, I didn't understand why, he was nervous. I wasn't nervous at all. I had the competitive juices, the will to win. Then, of course, I coached my own kids in Little League, and now I get it. So, like I said, Mom and Dad never missed a game, except when Dad got stuck at work for 2 games. One was against Onteora, and I hit a grand slam. The other was against Fallsburg, and guess what happened? I threw a no-hitter. As proud as Dad was, it still kills him inside today that he had to miss it, but it only proved what Mom told us all along. She was always our biggest fan. A lot of great things happened on the baseball fields and in school during my time at Ellenville, and then came our senior year of '93. This was the year we won our first MHL championship, and it was the first time in history that Ellenville beat Saugerties at the varsity level. It was a magical year. I remember how proud all the faculty and staff was at the school, the janitors, monitors, teachers, and we even had fans outside because back then our games were telecast on 1370 WELD with Bob Mangles and Eddie Miles. Dad used to work at the prison, and the inmates had AM radio, so naturally, he told them all about the team. They would listen to all our games. What a time. What an amazing community we have here in Ellenville. I could go on forever, but in wrapping up, I would again like to thank everyone for showing their support, and let's get these current Blue Devils back on top, and let's go Mets.
Also Ken Ralph, for those of you that know, is also a Hall of Famer, as a coach, former athletic director, baseball coach, basketball coach, over 200 wins in both sports. So that's great. And I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Guinea, who is kind of a contemporary of mine, except for he can still read a speech off a small font. I don't do that. This next person is kind of special to me too, because I had the opportunity to coach with her in softball with, of course, Lance Lewin, our Hall of Famer and committee member here. And she was an incredible pitcher and player, very competitive. All I gotta do is find her plaque here. Give me a second. I'm glad last year you folks missed something if you weren't here. We had kind of an untoward event. The superintendent was a little embarrassed I might bring this up, but we were talking and all of a sudden I caught one half of the room looking out the window. So I kind of moved over and they weren't looking at me. We had a football game in about an hour, and one of the referees couldn't find a bathroom, so he was using that tree over there. So, in preparation for that, we've sent security outside to kind of keep a clearance round. We provide everything here at the Hall of Fame. Sorry. Okay, so our next inductee is Marsha McCombs, and her plaque reads, Marsha McCombs, class of 1989. Marsha McCombs was a four-year standout pitcher for the Ellenville Blue Devils softball team. McCombs finished her career with 60 wins and a career earned run average of 173. Her 60 career victories stands as a school record. Marsha also threw 11 career shutouts and 5 no-hitters. McCombs was so proficient, she was named to 3 Mid-Hudson Athletic League All-Star teams, 2 Times Herald Record All-Star teams, and 2 Kingston Freeman All-Star teams. McCombs saved her best pitching for her senior year when she compiled an incredible 0.97 ERA and led the Blue Devils to their second consecutive MHAL title and Section 9 championship. The Blue Devils ended the 1989 season with a second-place finish in the New York State Championships tournament at West Point, the highest finish of any team in school history. For her accomplishments, Marsha McCombs was named the Kingston Freeman Player of the Year and voted by the New York State Sports Writers Association to the All-State team. Marsha McCombs continued her softball career at Ulster County Community College, where she led the Senators to back-to-back appearances in the NCAA Junior College World Series. And to induct Marsha McCombs into the Hall of Fame, her coach, my good friend, Lance Lewin.
Thank you, John. Well, again, I want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming. It's obviously one of my favorite days of the year when I get to come up here and see all my kids, parents. You know, you'll always be Mr. and Mrs. the parents. But I want to say congratulations to all the inductees. Stephen, pitcher. If you know anything about pitching, you got to be precise. You got to place the ball in the right area of the plate, which is only 17 inches wide. You got to change speeds. You got to move. Great job, Steve. Very deserving. Can you hear me? I get told by my wife all the time, I remember. Marsha, I'll talk about her in a minute. Keith, over 120 victories, and I spoke with Keith earlier. Keith McCall is a wrestler. I tried wrestling once, I quit. It was that tough. So I have a lot of respect for him. Those are only high school victories. Keith wrestled many other areas. I don't know the terms for wrestling, but AAU, I would assume, all over the country. So probably his victory total was much, much higher. Outstanding nominee and very deserving. And then the 61 baseball team. Undefeated, I understand. I played softball with a lot of these guys. And I'll tell you what, if they were all on one team, they were going to be a tough out. Great group of guys, well-deserved, far too long. I applaud you. Now to Marsha. And I'm up here doing something I would never allow my players to do. I'm up here without being prepared. I didn't rehearse this speech. I didn't write anything down. All I have are some stats that hopefully are still on my phone. I got to know Marcia as a 7th grader. She came out for softball that year, and she got cut. And it hurt. She then came out as an 8th grader. And her coach at the time, Frank Muller, who was here, also an inductee as a coach for golf, and my JV softball coach at the time, was smart enough to put her on the team. And one day he said to me, Lance, you've got to come down to the field and see this kid. I think she's your next pitcher because she can throw the ball. And I did. And Frank's giving credit for discovering her talent. Not me. At the end of that year, I spoke to Marcia's mom and dad, and I said, look, this kid could be a very nice pitcher, but she needs training, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing in terms of teaching windmill pitching. With an educator, between an educator and a student, that is special. Those of you who've played sports know that there's a special place in your heart for your coach. And they teach you a hell of a lot more than how to read and write. They teach you how to live. At least that's what I try to do. And that's what I hope my kids would do. As John spoke about earlier, he says, you know, his emotions get in the way sometimes. John's passion is kids. My passion has and always will be children, making them the best they can be. And I'll do anything to protect them. And sometimes I'm accused by umpires of being a little too aggressive about that. I know my players wouldn't say that ever. Even the guys I play ball with, softball. Anyway, with much love in my heart and tremendous pride, one of my girls.
I didn't prepare a speech, but I want to say thank you to everyone who's put this together and gave me the opportunity to have such a great honor. It's just overwhelming. I want to say thank you to my family, because if it wasn't for my mom and dad, I wouldn't be where I am today. I just wish that my dad was here, that he could enjoy it, and I can't believe it. Even today, I'm still playing, and I'll tell my son, hey, buddy, I'm going to a game. He's like, again? But this is such a great honor. I congratulate all of the inductees. It just feels so nice to be recognized. And like I said, I can't, without these guys. They're great. They were great. And I miss them. And I thank everyone. Thank you so much for this honor. I appreciate it.
Okay, so a couple of things that I got to mention here. Each inductee, and those of you that already went, don't forget, also gets one of these fine 15-ounce coffee mugs that say Elmville High School Hall of Fame. I mentioned that a couple of years ago, and Jack Carter was in the audience, who had been inducted a few years before, and he's sitting in the stands going like this. Go, we'll get you one too. So they'll get that, and they'll get the plaque. The big plaque that's a little larger than that will go up in the hall that you saw today that goes down into the middle school by the athletic director's office. So, the 1989, Lance, went to the state finals and got edged out by a bunch of farm girls from the western part of the state. I don't know what they were feeding those girls. We would get within a couple of runs and then they'd pull away, and we'd get in a couple of runs and they would pull away. But I find it interesting. So I was the JV coach who got pulled up to help with varsity. So Lance didn't prepare a speech. Marcia didn't prepare a speech. They're not prepared. So it must have been the JV coach that led them to the state finals, because I was prepared. Okay, also, I was supposed to do this before, and I don't know if Steve knew it, but I was supposed to do one of these. The whole family has these. We'll be breaking those out at the after party at Steve's house, where there's Cracker Jacks and hot dogs. I want to just take a moment to let you know, as I said to you before, if you look around the building, you see we're making moves in Ellenville. And I've kind of always said this to the superintendent and my fellow board members: why not our kids? Why don't our kids deserve the best facilities? Every school in the entire section is upgrading their fields. And I say this just because it's true. Our fields might be in some of the worst shape of any school in the section. And so we're proposing a bond issue coming up. Now, I'm not supposed to be able to tell you as a board member to vote for the bond issue, right? It's like crossing some sort of moral issue, Lisa. Lisa's very nervous right now. But you know, I used to be pre-law in college, so I can say this. The bond issue's not up, so I can encourage you now to vote for it. There's 2 panels back there that have information on it, and you can take a packet with you, and it's improving every athletic facility we have, and there's a couple of building and facility issues that need to be taken care of. Our high school's close to 100 years old or over, and so some things need some preparation. And so my feeling is, why not our kids? And why not, you know, and this event just shows you how worthwhile it is. So if you have any questions, you can take a flyer, you can look at the board, and Lisa Wiles will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And before that issue comes about, and I can't talk about it, I appreciate you voting for it. Thank you. Okay. I had the pleasure, when I was working in Elmville, the wrestling program was defunct. There was nothing since Mark Ellison had coached. He was the building principal at the time. And when I was hired, I asked if I could start to rebuild the program, and I rebuilt the program. And Keith Piquel, as you'll hear in a minute, was really an outstanding wrestler. And it wasn't hard to figure out why. He had 2 older brothers that used to beat him up all the time. And I had the pleasure of coaching them. So my first year that we were rebuilding the program, we started at a modified level in the JV. I had 2 kids that wrestled varsity, beating them in Sam Morales. We finished 4th in the league tournament. Pete won and Sam took 3rd. And we beat several other schools in the county. And so I'm trying to rebuild the program. And I would stand in the hall and find kids and say, hey, you, how much do you weigh? Which was kind of an odd question. And a kid would say, 90 pounds. I say, congratulations, you're a varsity wrestler. And my second year, when we were trying to take the program up, kids that I had known came into the practice room and said, Coach, Duke's coming out for the team. I said, Duke? So I'm thinking some 189-pound beast is going to walk through the door, and this little blonde-headed kid comes through, and they go, Duke, and I'm looking past him to see where the big kid's coming in. There's no big kid coming in. Brian Piquel was one of our best lightweight wrestlers ever, and Keith's older brother. And then Vinny came along too, right? Vinny's coaching currently at Cornwall, doing a great job over there. And so then Keith comes along, and he's been beat up all these years, and he decided it was time for him to lay the smack down on some other people, and did a great job. Let me read to you Keith's plaque. Keith Piquel, class of 1999. Keith Piquel was an outstanding wrestler for the Elmville Blue Devils, and in his 5-year varsity career, he set the school record for winning, finishing his career with 124 victories. In 1997, Piquel garnered All-American status when he finished 7th in the nation in freestyle wrestling. Keith Piquel was also a 4-time Mid-Hudson Athletic League champion for the Blue Devils. Piquel dropped some close decisions in his first attempts at winning a Section 9 championship, but all that changed in his senior campaign when he had the best season of any wrestler in Elmville history. Keith had the misfortune to be wrestling in the same weight classes as some top state finishers as he was coming up. And in his senior year, he won the MHL championship. He claimed the Section 9 title and concluded his scholastic career with a second-place finish in the New York State Wrestling Championships. Keith Piquel then entered the Senior National Wrestling Tournament and earned All-American status for the second time by finishing third in the nation. And to introduce and induct Keith into the Hall of Fame, his brother Vinny.
Yeah, it's that age. In large print, too. Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to celebrate a remarkable achievement, a moment that not only honors my brother Keith Piquel, but also recognizes the dedication, passion, and perseverance to going to being an athlete, to all the athletes that are being congratulated today. From a young age, my brother showed an incredible talent for athletics. He was a 3-sport varsity athlete who accumulated 11 varsity letters. Remember the first time he stepped onto a wrestling mat, his determination and focus were evident, even at a young age. He wasn't just wrestling, he was learning discipline, resilience, and the importance of hard work. He trained tirelessly, spending countless hours perfecting his techniques, pushing through physical challenges, and learning the value of sportsmanship, as well as getting beaten up by my brother. As he progressed through high school, it became clear that he was not just competing, it was about friendships he formed, the mentors he learned from, and the lessons he carried with him off the mat. Throughout his high school career in wrestling, he became a Section 9 champ, he was second in New York State, and third in high school nationals. To his coaches and teammates, thank you for believing in him, pushing him to be the best version of himself. You've shared in his triumphs and his challenges, and your support has been invaluable. To our family, your unwavering encouragement and pride has fueled his journey. As we celebrate this honor, let us also remember the value that sports instill in us all. Teamwork, respect, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Keith is now a husband, a father of 2 boys who are now part of the athletic program. So please join me in congratulating my brother on this well-deserved induction to the Ellenville Athletic Hall of Fame.
Cool. First, I want to say congratulations to all the past and present Hall of Famers in Ellenville history. It is an honor to be here today, representing Ellenville Athletics. It took a lot of hard work, dedication, time, practice, and the help of this Ellenville community. When I say this Ellenville community, I'm mentioning, well, sorry. My family, teammates, friends, the entire Central School District, all the employees, all of the local businesses, and everyone here today. First to my parents, my mom and dad, spending countless hours on those bleachers. If you guys don't know, weigh-ins start at 9 in the morning. Tournaments go till 10, 11 at night. They're spending 12 hours on those bleachers from 1989. John, thank you, starting it off, to 1999. That's countless hours on the bleachers, driving us to tournaments all over the Northeast just to compete with the best wrestlers in the nation. Mom, the greatest wrestling mom there could be, came to every single match, came to every single event. She would be here today if she wasn't in Vietnam with my older brother, Brian. That was already planned about a 1.5 years ago, so that's why they're not here today. She always had healthy food in the house, from grapefruits to cereal. No, I'm just joking with the cereal, but that's what I eat. Salads. Dad, you always had the firewood ready to go. You always had time for me to jump on your back, practice new moves. I didn't spend much time in the gym. I spent a lot of time in the backyard, bringing in wood, stacking wood. Those are my workouts. One might ask, how did the Pickle Boys start wrestling? Well, it goes a little something like this. Hey, Duke, you wrestle? No, he says. This is what he told me the other night. Meet us at the gym after school, and we'll start our first practice. Well, my brother ended up joining the Elmville wrestling team that year. John, you're my first wrestling coach who taught me my first drop step, first half Nelson, cradle, and many countless wrestling moves. He also took me to my first wrestling tournament with his son Kevin. We get there, I don't even know exactly where it was, but we get there, we weigh in. The anticipation, when you weigh into a wrestling match, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours, everybody weighs in. They find the longest hallway in the gymnasium, and they post all the brackets. Everybody goes, runs out, checks the brackets, see who you're wrestling, and we get out there. I have 3 people in my wrestling, in my weight class that day. I came in 3rd, last place. Oh, I remember coming home that day, my mom and dad anticipating, asking me how I did, and my exact words, I believe, were, I got my butt kicked. I don't want to wrestle anymore. Her reply was, Keith, this is your first wrestling tournament, and you just started wrestling for a few months. This is not how the world works. You need to work hard for what you get. It'll never come to you on a silver platter. You are not quitting wrestling. You will finish the season out, and we'll go from there. I ended up falling in love with wrestling at an early age. Going into varsity wrestling in the 8th grade was very difficult at me. I had my older brother, Vinny, to look up to, and always ask for advice. I had the privilege of wrestling and having a great wrestling coach, Alberto Nieves, who is also in the Hall of Fame with his brother, Aníbal. Alberto and I spent countless hours on the wrestling match, practicing over weekends, snow days, vacations. We would drill and scramble all day long. We always found a way to get into the school, and if not, we would always call good old faithful Mrs. Kraft. If you don't know who Miss Kraft is, she's the sweetest, kindest, strictest old lady you can ever think of. When you are in the presence of her, there is no shenanigans, there is no cursing, there is no disrespect. Everybody in her presence was always kind. And no matter how cranky she would be unlocking the door on a Monday night or a Monday morning or a Sunday morning, she was always willing to stay and lock the doors back up. I wish every school had about 20 of her walking around. It would be 100 times better and 100 times safer. She was a rock in our community. Even when she got older, she would drive around in a tricycle, which probably would not be illegal right now. But she was a rock in our Elmville School District. I know you guys are all laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where was I? Sorry. Berto and I had the opportunity to join high school coaching national association tournament out in Carolina. There I went undefeated, winning my first national championship. Sad to say, my last time wrestling with Alberto ended that day. He ended up going to coach college the following year. Not only did Alberto be an amazing wrestling coach, he taught me patience, hard work, integrity, trustworthiness, self-control, persistence. The list goes on. Many attributes many would say would be a great journey in life. My senior year, I had the privilege of wrestling with Scott Franza and Kenny Stalter. That year I took state runner-up, went to nationals in Pittsburgh. Scott and I took a journey out there with the help of this Ellenville community. This Ellenville community came together. We raised money for gas, food, hotel for 4 days. That tournament, I lost one match in the semifinals and wrestled back to take third place in senior nationals. Once again, thank you to this Ellenville community for helping me achieve my goals throughout my high school career. I attended 4 national tournaments. Between sponsorships to donations to fundraisers, this community was tremendous in helping me achieve all my goals. To my brother Vinny and Brian, who paved the mats before me. I grew up watching both of you wrestle countless takedowns, pitting your competitions, lots of wins, very few losses. However, one thing I always remember was after your losses, you would never get frustrated or emotional and would always shake your opponents with most upright respect. Brian, you were the smartest technical wrestler who always stayed calm under pressure. Vinny, you were the strong, powerful wrestler who never gave up in any situation. I knew I'd never be as technical smart as Brian, and I knew I'd never be as strong and powerful as Vinny. So I took those two styles, their best qualities, meshed them together to create my own style pretty much, which was very unique. To my beautiful wife, my loving wife, caring wife, a man can ask for. Taking this journey hand by hand 20 years ago. Together we are raising 2 wonderful boys, watching them grow up to be young men. One would ask parents, what is the greatest thing you do when you watch your kids grow up? A lot of parents say, watching them grow up. What's the saddest thing, or the hardest thing, when watching your kids grow up? Watching them grow up, because now you're not watching them grow up anymore. Sorry about that, lost my spot. Oh well, sorry about that. Together we're raising great boys. I could not be any prouder of the 2 of you. Keep working hard and always know that this Ellenville community will always have your back. Last of all, to all the future Hall of Famers and any athlete that is here watching today, dedication, practice, persistence, patience are just a few qualities you'll need to achieve your goals. Win with respect, lose with gracefulness, and vice versa. Win gracefully and lose with respect. As my mom always said, practice makes perfect. Work hard for what you want, and nothing ever gets handed to you on a silver platter. Thanks again. It's an honor to be here today.
You know, she's not here today because, as you mentioned, she's in Vietnam, but in wrestling tournaments, when somebody would pin somebody, that home crowd would start cheering. And when we would have somebody pin, our crowd would cheer. And then above that cheer would come Deanie's high-pitched voice, like most of you in here will remember this when Minnie Riperton used to sing and hit that high level. And wherever you were in the gym, you could always hear Deanie talk. Now, wrestling's a special sport. I was very proud to coach here and rebuild the program. I was a heavyweight in high school. I weighed 205 pounds and had to wrestle 215, so I never had to worry about running stairs and eating healthy food and all of that. When I came here, I had a heavyweight who tended to be 10 or 12 pounds over, and every day I would pat him down in the hallway and get a Snickers bar or something. So you can't eat this. So I never had to look for it. And I myself, at the time that I coached these young men, was about 330 pounds. And so it was a lot of fun and great to be part of it. I also want to talk about community. You know, I started my teaching career in Pine Bush, and I enjoyed, you know, I coached wrestling there and I coached state champion and runner-ups and stuff. But it didn't feel like home. And in the summer, there was an event going on in Ellenville, and I ran into then Mayor Elliot Auerbach, and he said, I think he's still here, isn't he? Hi, Elliot. And he said, isn't this a great community? And I went home and convinced my wife to buy a house here. And that was 35 years ago or so. So when people, everybody here talks about community, you all know what that is. Lance said sometimes I get emotional. That's when I get in trouble. But I sit up here and I watch people talk. Last year I said several people cried. You saw it again today. And I watched the speakers and their legs shaking a little and their hands shaking a little. And then when the inductees come up, they get a little emotional about it. So, I started out by saying a lot of people would say, high school sport's not that important. But when you throw that community piece in here, and when I left Pine Bush to come to Ellenville, the number one question I was always asked was, go to Ellenville? Why? Because we were looking, and I've always called us the little school district that could. And I love beating the bigger, more powerful schools because there was that sense of community. You can say whatever, I could fight with my brother, but if somebody from outside said something, and there have been several instances in my career where I've seen kids from other schools try and make fun of our kids, and our teammates stand up right for them. You don't mess with us. You don't mess with them. So that's the community part. The other thing is that I've been fortunate since this has happened. Pass that back to Steve for a minute. I've been fortunate since this has happened to know almost all of the inductees that have been here. The late 80s, early 90s were a very good time for us, and then we went into a little bit of a dry spell. Last year we inducted the 66, 67 basketball team. And so I just want to thank the 61 baseball players, because you're the first guys that are really older than me coming in here. So I feel pretty good about that. When you get a team from a long time ago or an athlete from a long time ago, the research is tougher. I now spend about 12 hours on the microfiche at the library, over the public library, looking up these little articles. I told Lisa Superintendent our budget's about $100 million right now. In 1961, the Ellenville School District budget was $1.5 million. We run the whole school district, so you can learn a lot by squinting at the microfiche. And that's where I learned a lot about the 1961 baseball team. Also reaching out to them and contacting some of them and telling them about the event here today. So I want to read to you the 1961 baseball team Hall of Fame plaque. The 61 Blue Devils baseball team finished their season undefeated 8-0 in league play and was crowned the Duchess Ulster Sullivan Orange League champions. The Blue Devils had an overall 9-2 record, and the 1961 league championship was their 4th in 5 years. The 61 squad compiled an overall team batting average of .365, and the team was so dominant that the Blue Devils averaged over 10 runs per game. The 1961 baseball team scored a total of 111 runs while yielding just 24 to their opponents. I want to start out introducing this team, and I couldn't find Coach Ron Anderson. I think he's deceased, is what I heard, but so I just want to read to you the deceased members of the team that couldn't make it. Coach Ron Anderson, Marv Moore, Pete Williams, and Wayne Cook. I hope I got them all. And who? Joe Demure. Okay, so, Joe Demure, right. So anyway, I picked your song, and ironically it's called Hall of Fame. So would you play a little bit of Hall of Fame for me, please, while I introduce Okay, so here's our team. You gentlemen who do us the honor coming up. Is Patty or Katie around? Can I get a hand up here handing out the plaques and the mugs, please? Marcia, did I get you one yet? No?
Toss it. I'll take it.
You're a pitcher, not a catcher. So anyway, tremendous respect for the 61 team. I don't want to give away all the secrets, but you gentlemen are approaching somewhere around 80 years old. I'm trying to keep you in the 70s for the rest of the group, but I think that, you know, the memories, and again, with something like the 61 baseball team, that you know the community. So you know the support that you have. So I'll call you up. And this is the entire team with those that can't be with us. George Barthel. Harry Budd. Howard Budd. Wayne Cook. Mike Durso. Bill Harris. Dennis Irwin. Frank Keener. Bobby Myers. Marvin Moore, who I believe his wife is here. Would you like to come up and accept this, please? No, you don't. Frank Muller, Hall of Fame already as a coach, over 360 career golf wins, and a pretty good baseball player too.
Talent scout, too.
What are you doing there, kissing my daughter? Supposed to shake my hand. I told this story last year when Frank was being inducted. I guess when I was teaching here at a couple of points, my passion did get the best of me. And I went to some of the older teachers for advice. And I went to Frank and told him what was going on. He said, "You're an idiot." Frank Muller, molding young lives. Jackie Scudero. Billy Wells. You know, it's just amazing. It really is to have this many of a team come back. Gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed the time that you get to spend together and hash over old memories and renew friendships and stuff. Truly a great honor to be presenting you into the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, 1961 baseball. Do you want me to get them together for a picture? Why don't you stand up? In 1961 Hall of Fame inductees.